All right, smile for the cameras, Mark. Looks like Zuck won't duck Congress after all. Reports the Facebook CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, will indeed testify before Congress on the status scandal. There could be others as well. It seems that everyone wants a piece of him, talk to him, and get an idea on how it is the privacy of better than 50 million of his users was compromised. Market watcher Bert Flickinger and attorney Emily Campagno on this. Bert, you know, if you think about it, the enormous pressure on him now, not just for his company, but for an industry that very much fears a federal fix. Is that in the offing here, depending on how he does?
It is in the offing, Neil, and as you referenced so well with the fruit stand, Zuckerberg's under unprecedented pressure because the government and the citizens need to know, after reports of Facebook, Google fixing the news, where there's up to 23% of the news flow before presidential elections, and this most recent concerning set of circumstances. And in terms of not testifying before the British Parliament, that's absolutely outrageous. Winston Churchill did that in a matter of hours, and before Congress, Casey Stengel, Mickey Mantle, and Roger Maris, you can look it up, testified in '58 the same way Howard Hughes did in 1947, and the whole market could be under pressure with Mark Zuckerberg because it's a matter of trust, and without trust, you don't have consumer confidence, and ultimately, Facebook doesn't have a product. As great social media strategist Mary Jane Millay of SOCIALCLIQUE referenced, and Zuckerberg isn't doing social media at Harvard College to Elliott House and elsewhere. He's got tremendous accountability and responsibility, and as Ms. Millay says, has to change his behavior or Facebook will lose its relevance and could crater the markets.
You know, and I'll talk to the attorney here, Emily Campagno. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he's, you know, a very, very smart tech guy. He built this from nothing. It started as a dating service, and it's obviously something much bigger now. But Emily, he is going to be ripped apart, and he has got to answer the proverbial question that these things always come down to. What did you know? When did you know it? How did you botch it? Were you covering it up? I mean, and they will be relentless because they will, politicians probably at both sides, be trying to finger him and saying this is something we've got to fix, much like they tried to fix banks, much like they tried to fix, you know, the big tobacco, and they're going to lump him in with that. So what does he do?
Well, regardless, look, here's the deal. Whether they want to fix it or not, the important issue here is transparency. Now, we all know the FTC is investigating Facebook right now, in part because of their likely violation of the 2011 settlement, where they agreed to get express consent by every user before sharing their privacy, before sharing their data outside the bounds of their privacy agreement. Now, that is a non-public investigation. So what that means is the public will have no visibility into that investigation whatsoever. And Facebook has been invited by multiple committees on the Congressional Hill, right? So it's about, as well, how the public wants to define, or how our government wants to kind of categorize Facebook.
But
do we define it as a media group, as a newspaper?
But tech guys are not savvy at this. They're brilliant. A lot of IQ, not a lot of EQ, and that could run against him. I'm not trying to disparage him. I'm just trying to say that's the bane of existence for geniuses, right?
Right, but I think the larger question is that they meaning Facebook and Zuckerberg, was responsible for almost 2 billion users' private data, of which 50 million was breached. And so I think here the larger question is whether it is in our best interest, our meaning the consumers, to regulate that environment, or at least to get some answers to find out what he knew and when, as you said, and moving forward, how that can better be regulated to protect the consumer. So it's not about whether his EQ or IQ will kind of damage his own credibility. It's whether we will get the answers that the public deserves. And Congress right now, depending on how we categorize it, it's important for us moving forward to know how to operate within that regulatory framework. And that's something that will play out.
We're not going to get those answers, Bert. He's going to be limited by his own lawyers about what he can say, especially with a FTC investigation going on concurrently.
Emily's completely correct, and it's the great U.S. spokesperson and comedian Lucille Ball of Jamestown, New York, said Zuckerberg's got a lot of splaining to do. And with that, so far, his response Howard Hughes had a tough time socially and testifying, but he helped himself with testifying. So far, Zuckerberg and Facebook have folded faster than this #1 ranked Harvard hockey preseason team that didn't even make the playoffs. They've done a lot of damage, and they could really damage the NASDAQ and the market with their obtuseness and being so opaque. And as Emily said so well, transparency is key to protect the consumer, which is critical.
All right. Well put. We'll see, because the pressure builds next month when all this goes down. All right, guys, thank you very, very much. Well, for those who thought that the administration would be pussyfooting around with dealing with the Russians, proof that it is not. All those Russian diplomats who were kicked out, and suddenly the Democratic critics who are so silent